From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your afternoon update.
Dennis's Heating and Air Conditioning is Northern California's premier heating and air conditioning contractor. From residential housing, large commercial projects, installation to repair, sheet metal fabrication, and everything in between, we are your go-to heating and air conditioning specialist.
Well, good afternoon. We had that first round of Caffeinate for a Cause. Of course, a big portion of the sales goes to Turtle Bay. So that happened this morning from 7 until 9 o'clock this morning. You may have noticed how busy it was at Dutch Bros. Now, if you didn't get a chance this morning, you still have a chance this afternoon from 2 until 4 p.m. So head on out to any Dutch Bros in Redding, Anderson, or Palisadro. And of course, you can help donate. And basically all the tips are going to Turtle Bay. You also have a portion of the sales of your Dutch Bros coffee going to Turtle Bay. So this is a great cause. They've been doing it for 11 years. And go out and help support Turtle Bay. I love what Turtle Bay does. I think everybody does as well. And I love doing that segment with them every week. So let's keep that program going. All right, take a look at what's going on out there right now. We've got the mainly clear skies. Winds are blowing a little bit, but certainly not as strong as they were yesterday at this time. Now, the mini heat wave I've been talking about, it peaks today. Now, after today, temperatures will start to drop, but it will be a slow, gradual drop because it's still going to be pretty hot as we go into Friday, and not to mention even through most of the weekend. But we do expect a big drop in the temperatures by next week, which we'll take a look at that trend here in a second. And we're also tracking the potential for showers and even some thunderstorms for the higher elevations this weekend and even into early next week. All right, so here's what we have for today. There it is, 102 degrees for Redding, 102 for Red Bluff. By the way, Redding saw a high of 99 degrees yesterday. Red Bluff saw a high of 100 yesterday. So you get the idea. It's going to be a little bit warmer out there here for today. Chico may quite possibly dodge that triple-digit mark with a high today of about 98 degrees. And for the mountains, it's warming up as well. Not quite the triple digits, but it is in the upper 80s for places like Mount Shasta City and Etna. El Tour's about 85. We will get up to about 90 for Bernie, 91 for Paradise, and Susanville, about 85 degrees for that daytime high. So, begs the question, when is the latest we've ever seen 100 degrees? Well, the latest we've ever seen was actually in 2 years. In 1991, October 14th, with a high of 103 degrees. Just last year, on October 14th, we saw a high of 101 degrees. So that is the latest since 1893 that Redding has seen 100 degrees or higher. Now, the earliest we've ever seen it was on May 4th, 1992. This year, it wasn't until June 4th, so a month later than 1992 with a high of 101 degrees. So it's kind of an idea when we see it first and some of the records of the latest we've seen it. So when people ask me, is today going to be the last day we'll see 100 degrees? I'd say it's too early to tell because some of the records go back as far as October before we start getting out of the triple digits. So we'll kind of have to wait and see. It feels like it may be the last heat wave of the season, but only time will tell. We'll kind of keep watching it here, monitoring it. There's that ridge of high pressure that's in place. You see what's happening here? See that big ridge? That's what's giving us these hot temperatures. Now, a ridge like this in the middle of summer, say a month or two ago, boy, you'd be talking about temperatures well over 100 degrees, 110, 115 degrees, right? But it's the lower angle of the sun that we're getting into, so a ridge like this isn't quite as intense when it comes to that heat. All right, so I want to show you something here, because there's the ridge right now. Now, what we have here, if you look closely, you see an area of low pressure, upper area of low pressure. This is going to be migrating in our direction here through the weekend and into early next week. Now, this will be the slow decrease in the temperatures as we get into the weekend. But what we're going to have here is the positioning of this low. We'll have that counterclockwise spin around that low. Now, to kind of give you an idea, what we do is we have this trough of low pressure, and we take an axis right here, typically on the east side of that low. So typically around here is where we start to see the most amount of instability. This is why we've got the chance for showers and maybe some isolated thunderstorms in here. But number one, this is not the strongest of areas of low pressure, okay? Number two, there's not a ton of moisture for it to work with. But that being said, I think the atmosphere, this may be able to squeeze out just enough for a stray shower, a few isolated thunderstorms here for Saturday, Sunday, and this may even linger on into Monday of next week as well. Then, through next week, this area of low pressure is going to start to migrate to the south. But you see these systems kind of pushing to our north and northeast. That'll do a couple of things. Number one, keep our temperatures at bay. So we'll keep our temperatures kind of below normal for this time of the year. But these may also give us some gusty winds. And that's something we're going to have to watch here closely when it comes to fire danger. If we get these wind events, that's when we've got to start looking at the fire danger. So that may be something we're going to have to watch here as we go into next week. Yes, the temperatures are going to drop, but if these systems, what we call inside sliders, kind of move off to our north and east, that could bring us potentially some gusty winds. So we'll watch for that. But for right now, the main thing we're going to be tracking is those cooler temperatures for next week. All right, so let's talk about the rain. Of course, none today and none going into tomorrow either. We still got plenty of sunshine for your Friday afternoon as well. Okay, then we go into your Saturday. You see what's happening? We're seeing showers and thunderstorms popping up. Now, it looks like the bulk of it is to the south here, but we can't rule out a stray shower or thunderstorm for Siskiyou, Modoc, and even parts of Lassen County as well, and maybe even some of the inland areas too. All right, now we're going to take a look at the long range here. This one's not as what we call tight of a grid, but what it is showing is the potential for the mountains seeing a stray shower, maybe an isolated thunderstorm, including parts of the inland areas. Okay, now we go into Monday, and what we're seeing the bulk of the activity is to the east, but it is picking up on a little bit of activity off to the north, and not to mention even over Trinity County as well. Now Tuesday, it's really not picking up much. It's picking up a little bit here. For now, I'm keeping Tuesday and really through the rest of next week fairly dry, at least through next Thursday. You see some clouds coming in from the south. This could be that same area of low pressure migrating back up in our area, and that could potentially bring us a chance for some more showers near the end of next week, but that's a long ways out. We'll have to kind of wait and see, but look at this. All right, so here's the peak, but temperatures dropping. We're in the 80s as we take you through next week. So quite a drop in our temperatures going through next week. Let's take a look at that fire weather risk here for today. This is the main area where we've got to really kind of keep a close eye on it. Now, as we go into your Friday, we're going to see a little bit of elevation right here between Redding and Red Bluff. You see how when you get into these oranges here, that's kind of in that medium high range here. So again, this is nothing actually terribly unusual for this time of the year, but when we start seeing some of those oranges in there, that's when we need to start using a little bit more caution to make sure we don't start any new fires. And then as we go into Saturday, we're not seeing nearly as much, mainly in some of the greens and yellows in there. All right, so here's what we have in store for us for today. Yes, temperature is most likely 100 degrees or higher for Redding all the way down to Red Bluff. You know, Chico, you may dodge that triple-digit mark with a high of 98, 95 degrees for Oroville, 97 Willows. There are those upper 80s, even some low 90s for some of the higher elevations today. So looking at your 7-day outlook, here's what we do. This is what we call a broad brush forecast, okay? Because we look at Saturday, Sunday, Monday, every one of the mountains has at least a chance for showers and maybe some thunderstorms here. Does that mean you're going to see rain every single day? Probably not, quite honestly. But the chance is there, and it's something you got to keep watching here. Okay. Now we look at the valley, no rain in the forecast here, but what we're seeing here is the peak of the heat wave today, and temperatures just gradually dropping, especially as we go into early next week. There you can see on Monday a high of 92 for Redding, 90 for Red Bluff, already down to the 80s by Monday for Chico, but then the rest of us in the valley are going to be in the 80s for Tuesday through at least the end of next week, if not longer.